we can find that out. There is so we can kick off with now. I want to start off with Canada because that was the first election that happened on there. But let's see what the BBC had to bring in on how they rationalise the results on what's happened here and how it's gone, how the BBC's take on it's gone.
Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has declared victory in the country's general election, seen as one of the most consequential in its history. After his win, Mark Carney addressed directly what many Canadians see as an almost existential threat posed by their North American neighbour. First, though, here's the moment that the Liberals realised their party had won the election. The Liberal Party were well behind in the polls just 3 months ago, but that was before Carney replaced Justin Trudeau as leader and US President Donald Trump upended relations and became the defining issue of the campaign. So here's Mr. Carney's victory speech in which he directly addresses what he calls America's betrayal.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. But we also must recognize the reality that our world has fundamentally changed. There is also, for me, as I stand before you this evening, humility in recognizing that, well, many have chosen to place your trust in me, trust in the Liberal Party. Millions of our fellow citizens preferred a different outcome. And my message to every Canadian is this: no matter where you live, no matter what language you speak, no matter how you voted, I will always do my best to represent everyone who calls Canada home.
Now, although Mark Carney's Liberal Party have won, it still remains too close to call whether he'll secure a majority in Parliament. If not, he'll have to rely on other parties to govern. In his concession speech, the leader of the opposition Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, congratulated Mr. Carney, but also made clear that he wouldn't abandon his electoral base.
We hear your stories. We will carry those stories with us into Parliament. We will not forget the people for whom we work and for whom we fight every day. Now, I know that some of you might be disappointed that change did not get over the finish line tonight. Change takes time. Most of all, it requires that we never give up, because our people and our country are worth fighting for.
Joys of owning premium middle-class car kids.
Well, our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, is in Ottawa, and she gave us a sense of what was happening.
What an extraordinary moment in Canadian political history. The Liberal Party, which only months ago was trailing in the polls by double digits, led by a Prime Minister, a former banker who until months ago had no political experience, has surged ahead in these polls, winning the Liberals a fourth year in office, and Mark Carney the mandate to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And what unthinkable turnaround. And it is a measure of this moment, an election where the person whose name wasn't on the ballot, President Donald Trump, transformed Canada's political landscape. Not just the swingeing tariffs he's imposed, but also the continuing threat to turn Canada into the 51st state has galvanized Canadians, have caused some Canadians to change their usual voting loyalties in order to put in charge of this country a 60-year-old economist and former banker who they believe is the man to solve the crisis of their lifetime. That's how Mark Carney put it. In his victory speech, though, while he thanked all of his supporters, he also mentioned several times that he would be the Prime Minister for all Canadians, recognizing that there were millions who didn't vote for him. His main challenger, Pierre Poilievre of the Conservatives, still did extraordinarily well in this poll, still got a very high percentage of the popular vote. Mark Carney knows that that is going to be something he's going to have to contend with. So he mentioned this, and he also mentioned, of course, repeatedly, the need to take on that threat from across the border. But he will have to deal with the problems from within as well. So he may soon find out that while he's set himself up as a problem solver, that the problems and crises confronting a banker are of a totally different order in many ways than those confronting a prime minister who has to be accountable to the people and to a country which has its own internal barriers to trade and its own long-standing regional tensions, which at times have threatened to pull this country apart.
Lise Doucette there in Ottawa. Let's pick up on some of what Lise was saying there with...
Let's just move on from that particular section there, because I think we've got the interesting part of the news.
So what I've gathered, looking at all of these election results, is that people, like including Conservatives, right? They kind of want a little safe space where they can, little safe space, woke. They kind of want a little economic safe space, and at the moment, MAGA is economic poison. So you've got people that are conservative that are going to go, well, I can't vote progressive because that's too woke, but I'm okay with voting centre left because these guys have sensible economic policies. I'm going to be safe with them. My job's going to be safe with them. My wealth's going to be safe with them. So I think that's the trend that we're seeing here. Like Carney, he's a banker.
Yeah.
You got Elbow in Australia, economist. So people look at that and they go, yep, that's a safe investment with my vote. Whereas they might look at the Greens, and I love the Greens, as everyone can tell. I mean, look at me, I've got a hat that's green and woke. But for some people, for centrists, people who are looking, well, I'm a blue-green, I do care about the environment, but the Greens are just a little bit too far for me. Yeah. These guys are probably going to be the people that will vote Labour in the next election. And I think Labour is playing a pretty smart game here by not branching out too far in terms of progressiveness. Now, again, me saying this as a progressive myself, they're not branching out too far that way, right? They're not focusing too much on what people call identity politics, and they're focusing very much on the economic issues, which is like a safe place, and it's at the top of the list of concerns that most people have. So, yes, I think Labour is going to do quite well in the next election, considering how much of a fuck-up Trump is doing. And I think New Zealand First may be kicked out in the next election if they keep going down the route of let's be diet Trump. No, that's economic poison. People don't want anything to do with Trump.
Yeah, I mean, there's solid reasons why our main parties, and particularly Labour, are focusing on the cost of living at the moment, because it's the number one issue that voters say that they're concerned about.
Yes.
Consistently over the last, I don't know how many years. I mean, at least the last 2 years, it rated number one as the number one issue that people are concerned about. So you're never going to see, particularly Labour, moving outside of focusing on the issues that people care about. But I agree with you, identity politics is a particularly divisive issue, and New Zealand First are focusing on it right now, and it's not serving them well.
No, it's not. It's not going to serve them well going into the election, because people don't care about that. They don't care if there's a trans person that uses the bathroom. They care about whether or not they can buy something at the shop.
They care about what the prices of a bunch of silver beet.
Yeah.
Or was it 2 litre bottle of milk? Not what's between someone's legs in the bathroom.
Yeah, the average Kiwi doesn't care about that.
Yeah,
they really don't. Like Kiwis, we got to give them credit where credit's due. A lot of them are actually more tolerant than people think they are. Right? It's a small minority of people that lose their shit over a trans woman using the bathroom.
Or lose their shit when there is a bronze statue to commemorate was it the world's first transgender mayor being looked at Carterton, and a bunch of transphobes come howling in on Carterton and say, no, we don't want that, we're pretending to be Carterton residents.
Yeah, I think people are smart enough to know that beating up trans people is not going to fix the economy. I really hope people are smart enough to realise that. Same with Māori people, right? It's like, beating up Māori people, let's get rid of the Māori wards and stuff. That's not going to fix the economy. That's not going to make shit cheaper. That's not going to improve your standard of living.
Yeah. Now, here's something interesting.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram.